My name is Rosa Maria dos Santos. I am 72 years old, and I carry a story that remained buried for decades inside my chest. A story of horror, survival, black magic, and divine justice. Today, sitting on the porch of my simple house in Feira de Santana, Bahia, watching the sunset paint the sky orange and red, I finally decided to reveal what happened to me when I was just 14. Not to relive the pain, but to honor those who did not survive, to bear witness to the truth, and to show that even from the deepest abysses, it's possible to rise. It was the year 1967. Brazil was under military dictatorship, dark times when authority was unquestionable, and the powerful did as they pleased with the vulnerable. I had just lost the only person I had left in the world, my Aunt Conceição. My parents died when I was 8 years old, in a truck accident on the road connecting our city, Ipira, to Salvador. My dad was a driver. My mom had joined him on that fateful trip. I remember the day the news arrived. A runaway truck had crashed right into their car. They stood no chance. Aunt Conceição, my mother's younger sister, took me in. She was single, a seamstress, lived in a small 2-room house in downtown Ipira. She was a thin, tall woman, with black hair always tied in a bun, hands rough from so much sewing, but with a huge heart. She gave me love, a home, and hope that life could go on even after losing everything. For 6 years I lived with Aunt Conceição. She taught me to sew, put me in school, took me to church every Sunday. We were poor, but we were happy. She had a few suitors, but always said that I was her priority, that a man would come once I was grown. But destiny is cruel. Aunt Conceição began to lose weight for no reason, had constant fevers, aches throughout her body. When we finally managed to get an appointment at the health clinic, it was already too late. Advanced tuberculosis. In 3 months she was gone, leaving me alone at 14, with no one in the world. The municipality's social worker, Mrs. Eulalia, a large woman with thick-rimmed glasses and a shrill voice, appeared a week after Aunt Conceição's funeral. "Rosa, you are underage. You can't stay alone. I'm taking you to an orphanage in Feira de Santana, the São João Batista Orphanage. It's a good place, run by Father Sebastião, a holy man, very respected. There you'll have food, shelter, education. You'll be fine." I didn't want to go. I wanted to stay in my little house, in my hometown, near Aunt Conceição's grave. But I had no choice. A week later, I was being taken away in an old van with Mrs. Eulalia and 2 other children who were also being sent to institutions. The São João Batista Orphanage was on the outskirts of Feira de Santana, in a somewhat isolated area. It was a large 2-story building, painted white and light blue, with an attached chapel and a yard surrounded by high walls. At first glance, it seemed peaceful, almost beautiful, with mango trees in the yard and flowers planted in flower beds. Father Sebastião welcomed me personally. He was around 50, gray-haired, short and chubby, with a prominent belly under his black cassock. His eyes were small and light-colored, a watery blue that made me uncomfortable from the start. His smile was too wide, fake, never reaching his eyes. "Welcome, my daughter," he said, signing the cross over my head. "Here you are under God's and the Holy Church's protection. We will be your new family." The orphanage housed around 40 children and teenagers, mainly girls, some boys. I was placed in a dormitory with 12 other girls, rows of iron beds, a shared wardrobe, barred windows. I met 2 girls who would become my allies in the horrors to come, Jurema and Severina. Jurema was 15, tall and strong, with dark skin and a deep voice, protective in demeanor. She'd been at the orphanage since she was 8, after being found abandoned on the streets of Salvador. Severina was 13, small and thin, with light brown hair, freckled skin, shy but with a sharp mind and eyes that noticed everything. "Stay sharp," Jurema whispered to me on the first night, after the nuns at the orphanage turned off the lights. "This isn't what it seems. The priest, he's no good. And the nuns know but look the other way." "What do you mean?" I asked, my heart racing. Severina moved closer, speaking so softly I could barely hear. He calls the girls to his office at night, says it's for spiritual counseling, for private confession, but it's not. He touches us, does things, disgusting things. I felt nausea rise in my throat. But the nuns do nothing. They know, but they're scared of him, or complicit, I don't know. Just know there's no point complaining to them. And if you try to run or report, it gets worse. Jurema explained, her face hardened by experience. Worse how? There are police officers who are friends with the priest. They come here from time to time. And when they come, it's even worse than the priest. They hold sessions, choose some of us, take us to the chapel at night, and... Severina's voice broke. Jurema finished, and abuse us, several of them, while the priest watches, praying, as if it were some kind of sacred ritual. It's sick. I spent the first week in shock, trying to process that horrible information. I saw Father Sebastian every day in the chapel, leading masses, preaching about God's love, about purity and holiness. How could that man do what Jurema and Severina described? But I soon found out it was all true. On my second week there, I was summoned to the priest's office. It was a room on the second floor, with a dark wooden desk, shelves full of religious books, a huge crucifix on the wall, a window with heavy curtains always drawn. "Sit down, my child," Father Sebastian said, pointing to a chair across from his desk. "We need to talk about how you're adjusting here." I sat, my hands sweating, heart pounding. He began with normal questions, how I was feeling, if I was eating well, if the other girls were being nice. But then the questions got weird. "Rosa, have you ever had a boyfriend? Have you ever kissed a boy?" "No, Father," I replied, uncomfortable. "Do you know about the changes that happen in a girl's body when she becomes a woman?" "Yes, Father. My aunt explained to me." He stood up, came behind my chair. I felt his hands on my shoulders. "You're developing nicely. God made you beautiful, but you need to learn to take care of this body, which is the temple of the Holy Spirit." His hands slid down my arms, squeezing. I froze. "The priest can teach you, can show you how to care for this temple." I jumped up, moving away from him. "I need to go, Father. The nuns will notice I missed catechism class." He smiled that fake smile. "You may go, but you'll come back, and next time, you'll be more obedient." I ran out, trembling, feeling a shame I couldn't explain, even though I'd done nothing wrong. Jurema and Severina found me crying in the bathroom. "He called you, didn't he?" Jurema hugged me. "I didn't let him do anything. I escaped before." That was quick-witted. "But he won't give up. He never does," Severina said, deep sadness in her eyes. In the days that followed, I was called twice more. I tried to hide, invented excuses, but Sister Benedita, one of the nuns, always found me and dragged me there. "Rebellious girl, the priest wants to bless you and you keep hiding. Go now." The third time, Father Sebastian locked the door. "You've been disobedient, Rosa. You need to learn humility. Need to learn that when a representative of God on earth gives you an order, you obey." He grabbed me, pulled me. I fought, screamed, cried. I managed to push him and he fell into the chair. I took the chance to unlock the door and escaped once again. But I knew I couldn't run forever. On a Friday night, 2 weeks after my arrival, the police officers came. There were 4. Chief Almeida, an overweight, sweaty man with a thick mustache, Sergeants Bento and Augusto, 2 thin, tall men with cruel eyes, and Corporal Raimundo, young, couldn't have been more than 25, baby-faced but predatory in his gaze. Sister Benedita came to the dorm after we'd all gone to bed. "Jurema, Severina, Antonia, Rosa, come. The priest wants you in the chapel for a special prayer." Jurema looked at me with despair. Severina started crying quietly. Antonia, a 16-year-old with black hair and light skin, reacted differently. Her face became a mask of resigned acceptance, as if she'd lived this so many times that she no longer reacted. "I don't want to go," I said, my voice weak. "You will go," Sister Benedita shouted, pulling me from the bed. "Don't question God's authority." We were taken to the chapel. It was midnight. There was no one but the four of us, the priest, the four policemen, and Sister Benedita, who stayed by the door on guard. What happened in that chapel was the worst horror I had experienced up to that point. The details are so painful that even at 72 years old, I still can't describe them all without feeling nauseous. Suffice it to say that those men, under Christ's cross, violated us. All of them, one after another.
While Father Sebastian prayed in Latin, incense burning, as if it was some kind of profane sacrament. Jurema fought back. She was beaten. Severina went into shock, turned catatonic. Antonia didn't even react, just cried silently. I tried to escape, screamed for help. Corporal Raimundo hit me in the head. Everything went dark. I woke up in the dorm, my whole body hurting, bleeding, purple marks on my arms and legs. Jurema was in a bed next to mine, with a swollen eye and split lip.
Severina was curled up, hugging her knees, rocking back and forth, mumbling incoherently. Antonia just stared at the ceiling, empty. The other girls in the dorm looked at us with pity, but also fear. That could happen to any of them. "We need to escape," Jurema whispered to me days later, when we'd recovered somewhat. "We need to get out and report this." "Report to whom?" "The police are involved," I replied, desperate. "There must be someone. Authority higher up." "We'll go to Salvador, to the Archbishop, to the governor, to newspapers. Someone has to listen." We began to plan. Despite her trauma, Severina was brilliant at observing routines and finding loopholes. She discovered that, on Tuesdays and Thursdays in the late afternoon, Sister Benedita went into town to shop, and the only other nun, Sister Dulcie, was left alone to care for all the children. The backyard wall near the chicken coop was lower, possible to climb. We waited 3 weeks, regaining our strength, healing physically. The emotional wounds would never fully heal. Stealing small amounts of money whenever we could. Hoarding a bit of extra food to take. During that time, Father Sebastian continued calling us to his office. Sometimes individually, sometimes in groups. The abuse continued. The police returned twice more. Each session was a deeper dive into hell. But during that time, we found more allies. Other girls who had been abused, who wanted to escape, who wanted justice. In all, there were 8 of us planning to flee. Me, Jurema, Severina, Antonia, and 4 others. Lucia, Maria, Josefa, and Carmelita. On the chosen Tuesday, when Sister Benedita left for town, we executed the plan. During yard recreation, while Sister Dulcie was distracted with the younger boys who started a fight, the 8 of us ran to the back, toward the chicken coop. Jurema, the tallest and strongest, climbed first. She made it, helped Severina, then Antonia, then me. We were almost all over when Sister Dulcie showed up yelling, "Run! Go!" Jurema shouted to those still on the other side. Lucia, Maria, Josefa, and Carmelita didn't make it. Sister Dulcie grabbed them, but we 4, me, Jurema, Severina, and Antonia, managed to fall on the other side and run. We ran down the dirt road, not looking back, our bare feet bleeding, lungs burning. We ran until we couldn't anymore, until the sun set and darkness fell. We stopped in a wooded area, exhausted, hungry, scared. "Where do we go?" Severina sobbed. "To Salvador. We'll report everything," Jurema said, determined. We walked all night. At dawn, we reached a main road and got a ride from a kind truck driver who took us to Feira de Santana. There we went straight to the central police station. We arrived dirty, wounded, desperate, asked to speak with someone in charge. We were taken to an office where the chief saw us. My heart sank when I recognized his face. Chief Almeida, one of the abusers. Well, the little girls from Father Sebastian's orphanage. You ran away, huh? The priest is very worried about you. "He abuses us," Jurema shouted bravely. "He and the cops, they do horrible things." Chief Almeida laughed. A loud, cruel laugh that echoed in the room. "Lying girls. Father Sebastian is a man of God. You're the depraved, ungrateful ones. He shelters you and you invent these slanders in return." "They're not lies! You were there! You took part!" I screamed. He got up, came over to me, slapped me so hard I fell to the floor. "Shut up, you whore!" He called other officers. We were thrown in a cell, locked up. We spent the night there, terrified, crying, realizing there was nowhere to run, no one to trust. The next morning, Father Sebastian appeared personally. "My lost daughters, I'm taking you home." "No, we won't go back," Severina screamed, hysterical. But we had no choice. We were handcuffed like criminals, and put in a police car that took us back to the orphanage. The punishment was brutal. We were locked in the basement for a week, no light, only bread and water once a day. The basement was damp, cold, full of rats and cockroaches. There, in the dark, I nearly lost my mind. Jurema prayed compulsively. Severina became totally mute, no longer spoke. Antonia banged her head against the wall repeatedly. When they finally released us, we were more dead than alive. But the message was clear. There was no escape, no justice. We were trapped there, in those monsters' hands, until they tired of us, or we died. 2 weeks after our failed escape attempt on a sunny Wednesday, something unbelievable happened. I had been sent to the backyard to pick greens from the garden, a routine punishment. As I was picking lettuce, I saw someone on the other side of the low wall, in the forested area surrounding the orphanage. It was a black man, tall, very skinny, with gray dreadlocks, wearing white pants and a red shirt. He held a carved wooden staff and wore colored bead necklaces. His eyes were dark, deep, ancient. "Psst, girl," he called softly. I looked around. No one was watching. I approached the wall. "Who are you, sir?" "My name is Pai Marcio de Ogum. I am a Babalorixa, a priest of the Orixas. I live nearby, in a torero in the woods. I know what happens in this place." My heart raced. "How?" "The spirits told me. The entities that guide me showed me. I saw the atrocities, the suffering, and I came to help." "We already tried to run. There's no way. The police are corrupt. They protect the priest." "I know that. That's why we won't use normal paths. We'll use other powers, older, deeper powers. Do you know Umbanda, girl?" "No, sir. My aunt was Catholic. I only know church." Pai Marcio smiled, a sad but wise smile. "There is power beyond what the church teaches. Power of the Orixas, of ancestral spirits, of the forces of nature. And these powers can bring justice when man's justice fails. Can you make them pay?" "I can, but I need your help. I need something personal from the priest, something he always uses, impregnated with his energy." I thought quickly. The priest always carried a special rosary in his cassock pocket. It was made of black beads with a silver crucifix. "His rosary? But how will I get it?" "You'll find a way. When you do, bring it to that jackfruit tree over there." He pointed to a large tree at the edge of the woods. "Every night at 11 I'll be there waiting. When you have it, leave it there and I'll take it." "And what about the policemen?" "For them, I'll need something too. If you get hair, pieces of clothing, anything will do. Meanwhile, I'll start preparations. The moon is waning, a propitious time for work of justice and vengeance." He vanished into the forest before I could ask more. Getting the rosary was incredibly difficult. Father Sebastian never took it off. But the opportunity arose 2 weeks later when he called me to his office again. I had mentally memorized all Pai Marcio had told me. I knew this might be my last resort, my last hope. So, swallowing my disgust and fear, I pretended to cooperate. Let the priest touch me, held in my nausea as he began to remove his cassock. He put his cassock on the chair, distracted. The rosary was in the pocket. When he turned to lock the door, I quickly grabbed the rosary and hid it inside my dress, tied around my waist with a piece of cloth I'd prepared. I had to endure a few more minutes of abuse until he finally finished and released me. I left, crying, but with the rosary hidden. That night, at 11 o'clock, after everyone was asleep, I quietly snuck out, left through the back door I'd left unlocked, and ran to the jackfruit tree. I left the rosary there, in a hole in the trunk where Pai Marcio had shown me. Next morning, the rosary was gone. In its place was a small red cloth pouch and a note in shaky handwriting. Wear this on your neck hidden. It will protect you. Continue bringing objects from the others. Over the following weeks, at unguarded moments, I managed to get a strand of Chief Almeida's hair left on a chair when he visited the orphanage, a button from Sergeant Bento's uniform that fell to the chapel floor, a piece of Father Sebastio's cassock that I discreetly tore. I took everything to the jackfruit tree. Everything disappeared and was replaced by more protective amulets and notes from Pai Marcio. It is done. Justice is coming. Wait. And then, it began. Father Sebastian was the first to be hit. He began to have terrible nightmares. He'd wake up screaming, sweating, speaking in tongues. He said he saw demons, dead children pulling at his cassock, voices accusing him. He developed sores on his skin that wouldn't heal, mainly on his hands, the same hands he used to touch us. The wounds became infected, reeked, rotted. The doctors couldn't explain. Antibiotics didn't work. The wounds just worsened. He began to waste away, lost weight drastically, stopped being able to lead mass because he had panic attacks at the altar. He said he saw blood dripping from the crucifix, heard demonic laughter echoing in the chapel. The policemen also began to suffer. Chief Almeida had a breakdown in the police station, began yelling he was on fire, that demons were burning him alive, tore off his clothes and threw himself on the floor trying to put out imaginary flames. He was admitted to a psychiatric ward. Sergeant Bento had an inexplicable car crash. The car simply went out of control on a straightaway, hit a tree. He survived, but was left paraplegic. And in his wheelchair he said he was visited every night by the spirits of girls he'd abused, that they pulled at his legs trying to drag him to hell. Sergeant Augusto developed a grotesque skin disease. His skin began to peel, rot, fall off in patches. It looked like leprosy, but wasn't. He became disfigured, isolated because people were afraid to catch it. He lived like a pariah. Corporal Raimundo, the youngest, met the most brutal end. He was found dead in the river, drowned, but with strange marks on his body. Deep scratches everywhere, as if attacked by something or someone. The autopsy was inconclusive. Some said it was suicide, others murder. But those who knew it was justice from the Oryxas. As for Sister Benedita, the complicit nun, she went blind overnight. Her eyes closed and never opened again, even though they were physically perfect. Doctors called it psychogenic blindness. Pai Marcio and I knew the real reason. She'd closed her eyes to evil. Now she couldn't open them anymore. With Father Sebastian sick and the police out of action, we were finally heard. A new social worker, Mrs. Helena, came to inspect the orphanage after strange rumors about the priest's health. She actually listened to the girls. She brought authorities from Salvador, journalists, the archbishop. The orphanage was investigated. They found evidence, diaries of girls who'd been abused and died there. We discovered many were buried in the orphanage cemetery under false causes of death. Testimonies from employees who had been too scared to speak before. Documents tying the police to the priest. It was a huge scandal, made newspapers all over Brazil. The São Juan Batista orphanage was closed down. The children were transferred to other institutions or returned to their families when possible. Father Sebastião died 3 months later, completely consumed by his wounds and insanity. On his deathbed, it said he confessed all, begged for forgiveness, claimed demons were coming for him. Chief Almeida was tried and convicted, even in a psychiatric state. He spent the rest of his life, over 20 years, in an institution for insane criminals. Sergeants Bento and Augusto were also convicted and jailed. Bento died in his wheelchair of pneumonia. Augusto lives to this day, in his 90s, in a nursing home, completely disfigured and alone. As for me, Jurema, Severina, and Antonia, we were placed in an institution in Salvador. This time, it was a real place, run by people who truly cared. We began therapy, began to heal, slowly. But before going to Salvador, I went to the jackfruit tree one last time to thank Pai Marcio. He was there, waiting. Pai Marcio, you saved us. How can I thank you? You don't need to thank me, child. Thank the Oryxas, especially Ogum,
the warrior of justice, and Ian Sun, lady of winds and transformation. They brought justice. Did you do black magic? There's no black or white magic, girl. There is magic with intention. I used the forces of nature, of the spirits, to restore balance. Those men caused immense suffering, threw things out of balance.
What I did was restore balance, return the evil they'd done to themselves. It wasn't pointless revenge. It was divine justice. Should I feel sorry for them? The priest dying that way, the officers suffering. Pai Marzio looked at me deeply. You will feel whatever your heart tells you to feel. Compassion is a virtue, but forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting or accepting evil. It means letting go of the burden of hatred so you can move on. Someday, when you're ready, you'll be able to forgive. But it doesn't have to be today. He gave me another amulet, this one for me to always wear. Go live your life, Rosa. Go be happy. That's the best revenge. Survive. Prosper. Be happy in spite of what they tried to do to you. In the years that followed, that's exactly what I did. I grew up, studied, became a teacher, met a good man, João, an honest and caring worker. We married, had 3 wonderful children. I gave them love, protected them, did everything that wasn't done for me. Jurema rebuilt her life too. She became a social worker, dedicated her life to protecting vulnerable children. She's retired now, has grandchildren, lives in Salvador. Severina had a harder road. The trauma was too deep. She spent years in psychiatric care but never fully recovered. She lives in a care home, cared for, but never managed full independence. I visit her whenever I can. Antonia committed suicide at 23. She couldn't bear the weight of those memories. I cried deeply for her. I pray for her to this day. Of the 4 girls who couldn't escape with us, Lucia, Maria, Josefa, and Carmelita, I heard they were transferred to other institutions after the orphanage shut down. We lost contact, but I hope they found some peace. Over the years, I kept in touch with Pai Marzio, visited his terreiro, made offerings to the Orixás, took part in some ceremonies. I didn't become a daughter of Orixás officially, kept my Catholic faith, a renewed faith, not in the corrupt institution, but in the true God. But I also incorporated respect and gratitude for the African forces that rescued me when the church failed. Pai Marzio passed away 15 years ago, at 85. I was present at his funeral, along with hundreds of people he'd helped in his life. He was buried with his staff, his beads, to the sound of atabaques and chants. Before dying, he told me, Rosa, you are proof that darkness does not prevail. No matter how deep the abyss, there is always light waiting on the other side. You crossed the abyss and found the light. Now carry that light to others. Today, at 72, I look back and see a journey of unimaginable pain, but also incredible survival, divine justice, gradual healing. The scars never fully vanished. I still have nightmares sometimes. I still have triggers that take me back to that chapel. But I learned to live with it, learned that survivors are not defined by trauma, but by their resilience. Forgiveness came eventually, but not as people expect. I didn't forgive because the aggressors deserved it. I forgave because I deserved peace. I forgave to release the poison hatred leaves in the soul. But forgiveness didn't mean forgetting or saying it was okay. It just meant I would no longer let those men control my life, even after death. As for the magic, the witchcraft, Pai Marzio's work, I know some will say it was all coincidence, that the men were punished by human justice, that their illnesses and accidents were natural. And that's fine if they believe so. But I was there. I saw. I felt the energy change as the works were done. I saw divine justice work through means logic can't explain. And I know, in the depth of my being, it was spiritual intervention. There is power beyond what we see. There are forces that operate beyond human understanding. And those forces respond to the cry of the oppressed, to the pain of the innocent. It may take time, but they answer. And when they do, justice is complete. My message to whoever is reading, especially those who have gone through abuse, trauma, injustice, do not give up. Seek help through normal means first. Report, seek authorities, psychologists, support groups. But if those paths fail, know there are others. There are powers greater than men. There is divine justice, and it always comes. And most importantly, survive. To survive is already a form of resistance. Healing is a kind of victory. To be happy despite everything is the greatest revenge against those who tried to destroy you. Today I sit on my porch, surrounded by photos of my children and grandchildren, listening to birds sing, feeling the sun on my skin, and I know I've won. I went through hell and came out the other side, not unscathed but alive, not perfect but whole, not without scars but strong. And to every child I meet, every story of abuse I hear, I make a point of saying, you are not alone. There is justice, there is healing, there is hope, and there is power. Power in you, power in the forces of good, power in the truth that always, always eventually comes to light. Father Sebastião, Chief Almeida, the sergeants, they all paid, not just through man's justice, but through higher powers. And their stories serve as warnings. No matter how much power you have, no matter how much authority you think you hold, evil always, always has a price. And the bill always comes due. May Ogum continue to protect justice warriors. May Iansa continue to bring the winds of transformation. May all abused children find healing and peace. And may all abusers, in all their forms, receive the justice they deserve, whether by the law of man or by divine law. This is my story. This is my truth. This is my testimony. Hail all the Orixas who protect us. Hail Pai Marcio de Ogum, wherever his spirit may be. Hail all survivors, warriors, heroines. Axe. Amen. So be it. With love, justice, and memory, Rosa Maria dos Santos, 72 years old, survivor, witness, warrior.